I was washing a plate when the door opened and Claire walked in smiling like she had just won something. She dropped her bag and said my name slowly. I said welcome home and asked about the retreat. She kissed my cheek but her eyes felt distant. I joked that she looked reborn. She laughed and said maybe she was. We sat at the table and she watched me like she was studying me. I remember thinking something was wrong but choosing to ignore that feeling. At the time, love felt stronger than fear, and I trusted it completely then. I served dinner and tried to act normal while my chest felt tight. Claire pushed her food around and sighed. I asked if something happened. She said she learned something important. I joked again, asking if she found God. She said no, she found truth. I laughed, waiting for the punchline. She looked at me and said we are polyamorous now. I asked what. She repeated it calmly. My fork slipped from my hand onto the plate. I stared at her, sure I misheard, hoping she would laugh, but she never did. The room felt suddenly very small around me. I laughed louder than I meant to and told her she was funny. Claire did not smile back. She said she was serious and asked me to listen. I asked where this came from. She said the retreat opened her mind. She mentioned someone named Julian who asked hard questions. I asked if she slept with him. She said labels were limiting. My stomach dropped. I asked if she loved him. She said love is infinite. I felt my hands shaking under the table. I tried to breathe slowly, pretending this was a normal conversation between married people. Somehow anyway. I asked when she decided this for us. She said she did not decide for me, only for herself. I asked why she did not talk to me first. She said she knew I would resist change. I told her marriage meant honesty. She said honesty is why she was telling me now. I asked if I had a choice. She said of course, but love should not cage anyone. Her voice stayed calm while mine cracked. I felt like the ground shifted, and every promise we made started slipping away. Without warning at all. I asked if this meant she was leaving me. Claire shook her head and said no, she was expanding love. I asked if I was enough. She sighed and said it was not about enough. I asked if she planned to keep seeing Julian. She said yes and asked me to trust her. I laughed again, sharp and short. I said trust needs safety. She said safety can exist without rules. I stared at my ring and felt very tired. It felt like I was already grieving something that was still breathing. Across the table from me. In silence now. I tried to stay calm and asked if she already crossed a line. She did not answer directly. She said emotional connection matters more than actions. I asked if she kissed him. She said connection is fluid. My heart pounded. I realized she was avoiding truth. I asked if she would stop if I said no. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said she hoped I would not limit her growth. That was the moment I knew. The betrayal was not loud, it was calm, careful, and already finished. Before I could protect myself. At all. Dinner went cold between us. I stopped eating and listened to the clock. Claire asked why I was quiet. I said I was thinking. She said I always need time. I asked if she expected me to be happy. She said she expected me to understand. She said love is not ownership again. I nodded slowly even though my chest hurt. I thought about every year together and wondered when I became optional. I wanted to scream, but I stayed calm. Being calm felt safer than collapsing in front of her new certainty. That scared me deeply now. Inside me. She reached for my hand and said she hoped this would bring us closer. I pulled my hand back without thinking. She looked surprised and slightly annoyed. I apologized automatically, then stopped. I asked why she thought I would understand this. She smiled softly and said because I am kind. That hurt more than anger. Kind sounded like weak in her mouth. I realized she trusted my silence, not my consent. The room felt heavy as she waited for my answer. I felt pressure building behind my eyes, but I refused to cry. Not in front of her tonight now. She finally said, I thought you would understand, and her voice softened. I looked at her face and saw no fear, only expectation. I wanted to argue, beg, or leave. Instead, I nodded. My head moved before my heart could stop it. She smiled with relief and leaned back. Inside, something broke quietly. I realized this marriage had already changed shape without my permission. I nodded because I did not know how to fight yet. That night, silence became my first lesson in survival. And I did not realize it would cost me everything I thought love meant. Back then. I stopped talking after that night, and Claire treated my silence like approval. She moved through the apartment lighter, almost relieved, like my quiet erased the problem. I kept replaying everything I said and everything I did not. I blamed myself for nodding. I blamed myself for staying calm. She sat on the couch and texted openly now, her phone tilted toward me. I asked who she was talking to. She said Julian, like it was obvious. I asked why it had to be constant. She said I was monitoring her. My chest tightened, but I said nothing. The next morning I asked if we could set rules. Claire rolled her eyes and said rules defeat the point. I asked what the point was. She said honesty. I asked if honesty meant watching her flirt in front of me. She said I was insecure. That word landed hard. I asked if caring made me weak. She said I was projecting fear. Our voices stayed calm, but every sentence cut. She told me I needed to unlearn jealousy. I asked when she learned disregard. She stood up and said I was being dramatic. I watched her walk away. That evening I tried again. I said I needed reassurance. She asked what kind. I said commitment. She said commitment should not be exclusive. I asked if marriage meant anything now. She said marriage evolves. I asked if vows evolve too. She said I was stuck in tradition. I told her tradition was the only thing keeping me steady. She said steadiness is not passion. I asked if passion always destroys something. She did not answer. She just checked her phone again. I asked if Julian knew about me. She said he knew enough. That afternoon her friend Sophie came over. Claire went to shower and left us alone. Sophie avoided my eyes and asked how I was holding up. I said I was confused. She nodded and said the retreat was intense. I asked what that meant. She hesitated and said people got pushed emotionally. I asked if boundaries were respected. She said not always. Her voice dropped when she mentioned Julian. She said he talked about freedom a lot. She said some people cried every night. She said others cut contact with family. She stopped herself and changed the subject. She left quickly and hugged me like she was apologizing. That night I searched Julian online. I expected articles, credentials, something. There was nothing solid. Broken links, vague bios, no past. I showed Claire and asked who he really was. She sighed and said I was obsessed. I asked why she defended him so easily. She said because he understood her. I asked if understanding required secrecy. She said trust meant letting go. I asked if she was letting go of me. She said I was twisting things. I asked if she still loved me. She said love is bigger than fear. Later that night we argued again in the kitchen. I said I felt erased. She said I was centering myself. I asked if my pain mattered. She said pain is part of growth. I asked whose growth. She said mine too, eventually. I asked if she would pause for me. She said pauses become cages. I said I felt trapped already. She crossed her arms and said I could talk to a therapist. I asked why she would not talk to me. She said because I make things heavy. That word stayed with me. Heavy felt like inconvenient truth. I asked when love became light only for her. She said I was choosing sadness. I said she was choosing escape. She said we were done talking and walked away. I stood alone listening to silence grow. I noticed my begging turning into silence, and silence turning into distance, and distance turning into something steadier inside me that felt necessary now. She went out that evening and said she would be late. I asked where she was going. She said to connect. The door closed behind her softly. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I imagined her laughing, touching, choosing him. I hated my mind for filling in blanks. I checked the clock too often. When she finally came home, I pretended to sleep. She kissed my forehead like I was a child. The anger surprised me. I realized I was done begging for clarity. I started watching instead. The next day she noticed my distance. She asked if I was punishing her. I said no. She said I was cold. I said I was careful. She sighed and said I could leave if this hurts you. She said it gently, like an option. That sentence landed deeper than the betrayal. Something in me shifted, quiet and permanent. I stopped fighting, and that changed everything. Claire watched me closely the next morning, waiting for questions that never came. She asked if I was okay. I said yes. She asked if I was angry. I said no. She frowned like she expected noise. I told her calmly she could live how she wanted. The word surprised even me. She stared and asked if I meant it. I said I did. Her voice tightened when she asked why I sounded distant. I told her I was listening instead of arguing. She did not like that answer. At breakfast she talked faster, filling space. She explained polyamory again, using softer words. I nodded without reacting. She asked if I really felt nothing. I said I felt plenty but did not need to share it all. That made her quiet. She watched my face like she was searching for anger to prove she was right. I drank my coffee and stayed calm. I realized my calm scared her more than shouting ever could. Silence stopped being surrender and became control. I felt it settle into me like armor. At work Lena noticed something was off. She asked if I wanted lunch. I almost said no, then changed my mind. We sat outside and she asked how things were at home. I said complicated. She said she could listen. I told her a piece of the truth. She did not interrupt or give advice. She nodded and said that sounded heavy. I thanked her. She asked what I needed. I said space to think. She said that made sense. When lunch ended she said I deserved peace. That stayed with me longer than sympathy ever did. That evening Claire asked why I did not check her phone anymore. I said I trusted her to live her life. She narrowed her eyes. She said trust usually came with curiosity. I said curiosity was optional. She asked if I was testing her. I said no. She asked if I was pulling away. I said I was adjusting. She crossed her arms and said I was acting strange. I said strange compared to what? She sighed and said compared to before. I said before felt unhealthy. She looked offended by that. The distance between us grew sharper. A few days later she suggested I meet her other partner. She said it would help normalize things. I asked why normal mattered so much to her. She said because she wanted harmony. I said I already found mine. She asked if I was scared. I said no. She asked if I was jealous. I said feelings change. She laughed without humor and asked if I still cared. I said caring did not require participation. That ended the conversation. She went quiet, and I noticed she hated that more than anger. That night at home I packed a small bag. A shirt, documents, charger, cash. I did not plan to leave. I just wanted the option visible. I zipped it and placed it under the bed. Looking at it reminded me I was not trapped. Claire noticed later and asked what it was. I told her it was emergency planning. She laughed and said dramatic much. I said preparedness was not drama. She stopped smiling. She asked if I was threatening her. I said no, I was grounding myself. The next argument came without heat. She said I was withdrawing love. I said I was protecting myself. She said relationships need effort. I said effort needs safety. She accused me of emotional punishment. I said I was choosing silence over damage. She waited for an apology. I felt it rise out of habit. This time I swallowed it. I stayed quiet. I agreed to dinner because saying no felt louder than going. Claire smiled like she won something when I said yes. She told me to dress nice and be open-minded. I said I would be respectful. She said good, because this mattered to her. On the drive she talked about community and honesty. I nodded and watched the road. When we arrived, she squeezed my hand and said thank you for trying. I said nothing back. The restaurant was quiet and already full of tension I could feel. Marcus stood first. He was tall, confident, already smiling like he owned the table. He shook my hand and said it was brave of me to come. I said hello. Noah nodded from his seat and avoided my eyes. He murmured my name like an apology. Claire sat between Marcus and Noah, not beside me. I noticed that immediately. Marcus ordered wine without asking anyone. He asked Claire how her week had been. She answered him, not me. I watched and listened. Marcus talked the most. He explained how this dynamic worked, using words like balance and consent. I asked Claire if that was how she saw it. She hesitated and said mostly. Marcus jumped in and said growth takes time. I asked Noah how he felt about it. He shrugged and said he went with the flow. His eyes stayed on the table. I realized quickly who decided things here. Claire barely spoke unless spoken to. When she did, she checked Marcus's reaction first. Julian arrived late and calm. He shook my hand and thanked me for coming. He said it showed emotional maturity. I asked if maturity meant discomfort. He smiled and said discomfort leads to freedom. I asked freedom for who? He said for everyone involved. Marcus nodded like it was rehearsed. Claire watched Julian like a student. I felt invisible and strangely calm at the same time. The balance felt wrong, and everyone knew it except her. Julian raised his glass and thanked me again. He said I was evolved for not reacting with jealousy. I said I was reacting internally. He laughed lightly and said that was natural resistance. I asked if resistance was allowed. He said allowed was a harsh word. Marcus added that hierarchy creates safety. I said that sounded like control. Marcus smiled thinner and said leadership often feels that way. Claire shifted in her seat but stayed silent. I noticed she did not defend me. Conversation moved around me instead of including me. They spoke about boundaries they had already decided. I asked where I fit in. Marcus said as support. Julian said as witness. Noah finally looked at me and said it was hard at first. I asked hard for who? He did not answer. Claire reached for Marcus's hand under the table. That moment told me more than any speech. This was not freedom. This was order dressed up as choice. When the bill came, Marcus paid. He said it was his role. Claire thanked him. She did not look at me once. In the car afterward, silence sat between us. I asked if she noticed how little she spoke. She said she did not want conflict. I asked if she noticed how much Marcus spoke for her. She snapped and said I embarrassed her. I asked how. She said by being too quiet. She said my silence made everyone uncomfortable. I realized then she needed my pain to feel justified. I left the house with one bag and no speech prepared. Claire was in the bedroom texting when I said I needed space. She did not look up and said okay. That hurt more than fighting. I drove to Victor's place without music. When he opened the door, he nodded and stepped aside. He asked if I wanted a drink. I said water. We sat on opposite ends of the couch and waited for words to show up. Victor finally asked what happened. I said my marriage cracked. He did not ask for details. He asked one question, slow and steady. He said, "Are you happy?" I opened my mouth and nothing came out. I stared at the floor and felt stupid. He waited without saving me. I shook my head once. He said that was enough of an answer. He did not insult Claire or defend her. He said you deserve peace. That sentence stayed. I slept on his couch and woke up lighter. Claire texted paragraphs. I read them without replying. She asked where I was. She asked if I was punishing her. I replied I needed time. One sentence felt powerful. Victor watched me type and said say less if you can. I nodded. That afternoon he suggested a therapist he trusted. I resisted, then agreed. Daniel met me in a small office and spoke gently. He asked me to describe my relationship without justifying it. I tried. He listened and said that sounds confusing and painful. I asked if I was overreacting. He said hurt does not require permission. He said love should not make you disappear. He did not use fancy words. He said when someone keeps moving the rules, that is control. I felt something settle. I did not feel crazy anymore. I told him about dinner and silence. I told him about nodding. He said silence can be survival. He said consent given under pressure is not real choice. I asked if that meant I failed. He said surviving is not failing. He said I was waking up. I sat with that. It felt honest. Claire kept messaging. She wrote about growth and freedom. I answered with short truths. I am safe. I am thinking. I will talk later. Each reply was one sentence. She sent 10 back. I stopped reacting emotionally. The silence felt different now. It was chosen. Daniel said distance helps clarity. Victor said rest helps strength. I listened. A few days later Claire called. I let it ring. She texted, "Why are you ignoring me?" I replied, "I am not ignoring you. I am choosing myself." She did not respond right away. That felt like power, quiet and clean. I realized I was no longer waiting for permission to breathe. That night Claire texted again. She said, "I do not recognize you." I wrote back, "People change when they stop bleeding." She paused. Then she sent one line that surprised me. She asked, "Why do not you care anymore?" Time passed without announcement. I built routines that did not include waiting. I woke early, worked late, ate quietly, slept better. Claire texted less confidently now. Her messages sounded scattered. One night she called unexpectedly. Her voice broke before I said hello. She cried hard and fast, like she had been holding it in. I asked if she was safe. She said no, not emotionally. I stayed silent and let her speak. I did not rush to save her anymore. She said Marcus was limiting her time. She said rules suddenly appeared. I asked what kind. She said curfews, schedules, priorities. She said it did not feel free anymore. I asked when that changed. She said when she stopped being new. She said Julian barely replied now. I asked how that felt. She said humiliating. I said nothing. She kept talking because silence no longer comforted her. She needed my reaction, and I refused to give it easily. She said Noah left without a fight. She said he just stopped showing up. I asked if she asked why. She said he wanted peace. That word echoed in my chest. She said she felt alone inside a crowd. I said that sounded familiar. She sobbed harder. She said jealousy was eating her alive. She said watching Marcus choose others hurt. I asked if that surprised her. She said she thought she would be different. I listened without judgment. Claire said competition was exhausting. She said she felt replaceable. I asked if that scared her. She said yes. She said she finally understood me. I breathed slowly and stayed calm. She waited for comfort. I gave acknowledgement instead. I said that sounds painful. She said I never used to talk like that. I said people change when pain teaches them. She went quiet for a moment, then whispered my name like a question. She asked if I ever hated her. I said no. She asked why not. I said hate keeps you stuck. She cried again and said she missed me. I said I believed her. She asked if I missed her too. I paused and said I missed who we were. That answer landed heavy. She said she felt stupid. I said learning hurts. She asked why I sounded so calm. I said calm came after grief. That made her cry harder. She said she wanted to come home. I asked what that meant. She said to us. She said she wanted to reset everything. She said she would end the others. I asked if that was for me or for her pain. She hesitated. She said both. I said honesty matters. She said she did not know who she was anymore. I said that was something only she could rebuild. I refused to rush her discomfort. She asked if we could try again. I said I was still married. She sounded relieved. Then I said, but I am not available. Silence stretched. She asked what that meant. I said it meant I would not return to something broken without trust. She said she would do anything. I said desperation is not repair. She asked what I wanted. I said consistency. She asked how long. I said as long as it takes. She did not like that answer. Claire asked if I was seeing someone else. I said no. She sounded confused. She said then why not us? I said because healing requires distance. She said distance ruined us before. I said closeness without safety ruined us faster. She asked if I was punishing her. I said no. I said I was protecting myself. That answer surprised her. She stayed quiet longer than before. She said Marcus laughed when she cried. She said Julian stopped calling. She said she felt disposable. I said I was sorry she was hurting. I meant it. She asked why I was not angry. I said anger passed. She asked if that meant I did not care. I said caring does not mean rescuing. She sniffed and said she did not recognize me anymore. I said growth looks strange from the outside. She asked if I would hold her if she came over. I said no. She said please. I said I could listen. She said listening was not enough. I said it had to be. She accused me of being cold. I said I was being steady. She went quiet again. Then she asked a question that told me everything. She asked how you became so strong. I answered honestly. I said by breaking and not blaming myself anymore. We ended the call softly. Afterward I sat in silence and felt grounded instead of hollow. The shift was complete. She needed chaos to feel alive. I needed peace to stay whole. Claire showed up without warning. I opened the door and she stood there holding nothing. I just needed to see you, she said. I said, you should have texted. I was scared you would say no. I stepped aside and said, you can come in. She walked slowly like the floor might give out. You look different, she said. So do you, I replied. She sat and stared at her hands. I messed everything up, she said. I said, you already know that. Polly hurt me, she whispered. I stayed quiet. I thought I could handle it, she said. You said that before, I replied. She nodded and wiped her face. I was wrong, she said. I asked, about what exactly? About myself, she said. I asked, about us. She looked up, eyes red. Yes, she said. I felt something tighten but not collapse. I thought freedom would fix me, she said. And, I asked. And it broke me, she said. I said, I believe you. She looked surprised. You do, she asked. Yes, I said. She leaned forward. Did you sleep with someone else, she asked. No, I said. Her breath hitched. Why not, she asked. It doesn't matter, I said. It matters to me, she said. It shouldn't, I replied. She frowned. I came here to be honest, she said. So am I replied. She swallowed. I want us back, she said. I asked, what does that mean? Monogamy, she said quickly. Just us, she added. I looked at her. Why now, I asked. She opened her mouth and closed it. Because I know better, she said. That's vague, I replied. She started crying again. I don't know how to say it, she said. Try, I said. I lost control, she said. Over what, I asked. Over being chosen, she said. I waited. I thought I was special, she said. And, I asked. I wasn't, she said. She covered her face. I hated competing, she said. I hated waiting, she said. I hated feeling small, she said. I listened. For the first time, she said, I understood you. I felt pain move through me. But it passed. You didn't understand me, I said. You felt what I felt, I added. She looked up. Isn't that the same? She asked. No, I said. She leaned closer. I'll do anything, she said. That scares me, I replied. Why? She asked. Because desperation isn't trust, I said. She flinched. I regret everything, she said. I can see that, I replied. That should count, she said. It explains, I said. It doesn't repair, I added. She stared at me. You're so calm, she said. I worked for it, I replied. I miss you, she said. I know, I replied. I love you, she said. I believe you, I replied. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold her back. Come home, she said. This isn't about a house, I said. It's about trust, I added. I can rebuild it, she said. Not like this, I replied. How then? She asked. Slowly, I said. And without pressure, I added. She shook her head. I don't have time, she said. That's the problem, I replied. She cried quietly. I finally chose you, she said. I know, I replied. And it's too late, I added. She looked up sharply. So that's it, she asked. No, I said. Then what? She asked. This is honesty, I replied. She sat back, stunned. I thought you'd fight for me, she said. I did, I replied. When? She asked. Before I let go, I said. Silence settled. She stood slowly. I don't recognize you, she said. I do, I replied. She nodded once and walked to the door. Before leaving she said, I really did make a mistake. I answered, I know. I asked her to sit down again. Not to come back, I said. Just to be honest. She wiped her face and nodded. You want honesty now, she said. Yes, I replied. Not softness. Not excuses. She looked away. I wanted excitement, she said. I waited. And, I said. I wanted it without consequences, she added. That landed clean. No language games, I said. No growth speeches. She nodded again. I felt bored, she said. And bored scared me. Scared of what? I asked. Of disappearing, she said. I leaned back. So you lit a fire, I said. Yes, she whispered. And didn't check who it burned, I added. She swallowed hard. Julian stopped calling, she said. When? I asked. When I needed him, she said. I nodded slowly. And Marcus? I asked. He replaced me, she said. With someone newer, she added. Her voice cracked. I wasn't special, she said. I stayed quiet. The illusion shattered, she continued. Freedom wasn't free. It never is, I replied. She looked at me. I lost you, she said. No, I answered. I didn't lose you. You walked away first. That made her cry louder. I didn't mean to, she said. Meaning doesn't erase impact, I replied. She covered her face. I wish I could go back, she said. You can't, I said. I know, she whispered. I spoke carefully. I forgave you weeks ago, I said. She froze. You what? She asked. I forgave you, I repeated. For myself. Not to return, I added. Her eyes searched mine. Then why does this hurt? She asked. Because forgiveness isn't reunion, I said. It's release. She shook her head. That's not fair, she said. It's honest, I replied. She leaned forward again. I destroyed everything, she said. You damaged it, I answered. You didn't destroy me. She sobbed. I hate who I became, she said. I believe that, I replied. But belief isn't trust. She looked up. Can't we rebuild, she asked. Not from the ashes, I said. And not with pressure. She gasped for air. I finally see you, she said. I wish that mattered, I replied. Her shoulders shook. I thought you'd punish me, she said. I didn't need to, I answered. She looked confused. Then why do I feel this way, she asked. Because karma isn't loud, I said. It's quiet. I stayed gentle. I won't hurt you back, I said. That wouldn't heal me. She wiped her face again. You're choosing peace, she said. Yes, I replied. She laughed weakly. You always did, she said. I learned it late, I answered. She stared at the floor. I wish I had chosen you sooner, she said. I know, I replied. Silence stretched. Not sharp. Not cruel. I deserve this, she said. That's not my judgment to make, I replied. She stood slowly. I don't expect forgiveness anymore, she said. You already have it, I answered. Just not access. That broke her again. I stayed still. At the door she turned back. I really loved you, she said. I know, I replied. And that, I added softly, is why I had to let you go. I signed the papers in a quiet office with no speeches. The lawyer asked if I was sure. I said yes. He nodded and slid them away. That's it, he said. I said, thank you. I moved into a small place across town. The landlord asked if I lived alone. I said yes. He smiled and said it was peaceful here. I believed him. The first night felt strange. Not lonely. Just still. Victor helped me move a chair and a table. He asked how I felt. I said lighter. He said that makes sense. I unpacked slowly. No rush. No performance. Weeks passed. Routine settled. Coffee, work, quiet evenings. One afternoon I ran into Claire outside a store. I wasn't prepared. She wasn't either. She froze when she saw me. I said her name. She looked down. I didn't expect you here, she said. Neither did I replied. She shifted her bag. You look good, she said. Healthy, she added. I am, I said. She nodded like that hurt. I'm glad, she said. Silence stretched. She turned her face away. I didn't. She asked, are you happy now? I thought for a moment. Yes, I said. Her eyes filled. I'm trying, she said. I know, I replied. She stepped back. I won't keep you, she said. Take care, I replied. She walked away quickly. I stood still and breathed. I realized something then. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want answers. I wanted peace. That surprised me. Later that night I sat alone and thought about everything. Not with anger. With clarity. Losing her forced me to meet myself. Not the version who nods. Not the version who waits. The version who listens inward. I remembered how often I disappeared to keep love alive. How often I apologized for pain I didn't cause. I don't hate her for that. I forgive myself. Daniel once said love should expand you, not erase you. I understand that now. Being alone isn't empty. It's honest. I don't need noise to prove worth. I don't need chaos to feel chosen. I sit with myself now. And I stay. That's the difference. Love should never require self-betrayal.